Kazanoff, chairman of Threshold Entertainment and the producer of Mortal Kombat.
I'm Allison Savage, the associate producer of Mortal Kombat and the visual effects producer and supervisor.
We had two main goals in making Mortal Kombat. We wanted to combine special effects and martial arts into a mythic story in a way that had never been done before. And our second goal was to have an absolute blast doing it and make a movie that everyone would have an absolute blast watching.
We wanted to do the best action and the most unusual visual effects ever done before.
To accomplish that, we made a vow and a goal that we will assemble the best martial artists ever assembled for a movie and the most ever assembled for an American movie. We would get together the best visual effects team possible, and we would bring all those people halfway around the world to shoot the film, and that's what we did.
The most important thing about both the action, martial arts, and the visual effects is that we wanted everything to be different. We explored all the different kinds of martial arts and figured out what specific martial arts were good for individual characters, and we took each individual character that had a specific kind of visual effect attached to them and really tailored the visual effects to make them all different. So every individual character has an extraordinary kind of effect attached to them, and it's different than anything anyone's ever seen before.
You're watching a scene shot in Ayutthaya, Thailand, which is a remote temple area somewhat north of Bangkok. Here we had two goals in this opening scene. We wanted to set the tone for the story, both from a mythic point of view, what's going on, who this guy is, the bad guy Shang Tsung, and this is Shan, Liu Kang's brother. And we also wanted to start the movie with a bang. I mean, it's supposed to be fun, it's supposed to be a fight. We wanted the sky to look the way it does in this shot, and to do that, we had to bring a green screen with us to Thailand and set it up in the wind and the 110-degree heat, varying from day to day, to get that effect. We couldn't move the temples to Los Angeles, so we moved the green screen and affect the sky to Thailand. The shot you're seeing in this whole scene was shot in a bright, sunny, windy day, but it looks gray and overcast and ominous. Well, here's where we break the little kid's back. No, just kidding.
What we did after we shot the characters in front of green screen, you see the skies are broiling and look ominous. But what we did is, of course, as Larry said, shot it in front of a bright sunny sky. We darkened it down. We brought these shots that were clean and bright back to Los Angeles, put them into a digital studio. Buena Vista did those specific sky shots, and designed the different clouds to the way that we wanted them to look, and then incorporated them into the scene.
This is Robin's show. We found Robin out of Hong Kong martial arts movies. It was our goal that every actor in Mortal Kombat either was a martial artist who we taught to act or was an actor who we taught martial arts. We wanted to combine the best of Hong Kong martial arts with the best of American filmmaking. We were lucky in finding Robin, who grew up in America but then moved to Hong Kong, worked in Hong Kong martial arts, and then came back here. So he actually had both. His English wasn't very good when we first met him, but he trained, and he's an extraordinary martial artist. He was a real find, for not only for this film, but I think for our future films of Mortal Kombat and just in general as an action star.
This particular scene, what we labeled the Techno Club, was actually shot in an old munitions plant. We had all kinds of production design, as you see it.
And the toxic waste is real.
and I have shoes to prove it.
Now here's where it gets hard, because we want to make a movie that you believe but that is fun. So a guy's about to turn around whose face is half metal. This is Kano. We actually weren't going to shoot his face to be half metal because we thought it would look like some other movies that Al and I have done. And as we were designing the characters, we had little kids in, and they would see all the character designs and approve them. And when they saw Kano, the original Kano, without this metal faceplate, the kids started huffing and puffing like an exasperated bull and almost exploded, thinking that Kano wouldn't have a metal faceplate. They kept repeating it, Kano has a metal faceplate. So we changed back to the original design of the character from the game, and that's what you see here. I think it's pulled off because the whole movie, even here when we're on Earth as opposed to Outworld, looks a little hyper-realistic.
The difficult thing, of course, is shooting a metal faceplate in the bright sunlight in 110 very humid heat and getting it actually to stay on, because obviously he doesn't have a faceplate like that.
Also getting this down when people kick him in the face, as they later do in the movie. And that's important here because the fighting you're going to see in this movie is real. The people are really doing it, and unfortunately when that happens, people get hit, people get kicked.
The funny thing
and this guy got shot!
And the funny thing is, people talk to Bridget Wilson, and our stunt coordinator Pat Johnson would constantly say, if you really actually get kicked, I mean, people do get kicked. Obviously, it's choreographed so people don't get hurt. But Bridget Wilson often tells the story. She says, if you get kicked and you really feel it, don't stop, because it probably looks real and you don't have to do it again. So.
Here's where we're trying to set up all the characters. Who are our main characters? So we set up Liu Kang and his backstory. We just set up Sonya Blade, and now we're setting up the character who's the American actor, Johnny Cage. This is actually the first scene we shot in the movie, the one you're seeing right here. I think as we went along in this movie, we got better at the fights as we went. They're not all chronological. This happens to be one of the first fights and the first one we shot. It doesn't track like that for the rest of the film, but I think we got better the more we learned, the more daring we got.
And it actually worked out well, because obviously the fights need to be climatic, and towards the end of the movie the fights were more and more intense.
Now Johnny wasn't an original martial artist. He trained for several months with Pat Johnson and Pat's assistant Barbara Goldstone, but he was a Golden Glove boxer in a previous life, so he had some experience at it. These other guys are all pretty good martial artists.
This is where you fall down. Where do you get these guys? And the press says I don't know how to do this stuff?
Now, the guy you're about to see clearly maybe looks like somebody who we won't mention. And that actually,
a director? Famous director,
could
maybe?
be. That actually is just a coincidence. He was the funniest guy who came and auditioned, but it was fortunate that he sort of looked like someone. Some people get that, and some don't.
Now Johnny's about to meet up with an old sensei that he used to know, who actually is Shang Tsung, disguised as Shang Tsung.
Which you will find out in a moment.
Yes.
We originally thought of casting this sensei as a very famous, well-known, older action star, someone iconic. We dropped the idea because, well, we thought it would be a laugh. We thought it would kind of kick you out of the movie. So we cast a good actor, but not a famous person in his own right in the role. This all was hard to construct because this is Mortal Kombat and we wanted to move and we wanted to be fast and furious, but there's an element of backstory that we have to tell for the people who watch the movie who don't perhaps know the backstory from some of the other media we've done, like the game or the comic books or the animation.
The difficult scene coming up is this sensei has to make a transformation into Shang Tsung. And the difficult thing is, of course, they're different height, they're different size, their face is different, first of all. So we had to get their walking pace and their movement to be similar so that we could morph one character into the next, which is what you're about to see. Also, the difficult thing is, of course, so many people have seen a morph that we needed to do something cooler that sort of spiced it up, and that's what you see there.
Morphing, which Al and I worked together on a movie called Terminator 2, which was as recently as 5 years ago an amazingly new technology, is already old and used and a bit boring. You can buy it for $89.95 on your home computer. So when you need it for a story element these days, as Al said, you try and simply dress it up some way. It's gotten old quickly. This is Liu Kang arriving at the Temple of the Order of Light, which is supposed to be in China. It actually is in Ayutthaya, Thailand. These temples have since been shot, but we believe we were the first people to shoot them for a film. We originally were going to build the old kind of traditional village in the rice paddy with an old Chinese man sitting under the pagoda, but when we went and scouted in Thailand and we saw those old locations, they simply looked so much like other things we'd seen in other movies. We were discouraged, and our location scout finally said to us, look, there's one place we haven't taken you to, but it's not what you've asked for, and we didn't even know this exists. And we drove into town late one hot night and just fell in love with the look of this place. So we actually changed a lot of what these scenes were going to be based on this location. This is actually the old capital of Thailand 700 years ago. This is our friend Lloyd, the monk, who is a wonderful, wonderful guy. Lloyd is close to being in his 80s. He broke his ribs 2 days before he was supposed to get on the flight to Thailand, but insisted he was able to go. It was, I think, our most nerve-wracking thing throughout the movie. What if this poor 80-year-old man gets hurt in Thailand? But he was such a trooper.
He absolutely was.
And he was so wonderful. The people you're seeing here are a combination of actual extras dressed up as monks and actual monks who did this.
We wanted an element of reality, so we heighten it to fantastic reality. So in other words, if this were actually to happen in real life, you would believe that this is happening, that the Order of Light does exist, and that Liu Kang can meet up with this thunder and lightning god Raiden. So we really wanted to put the audience into reality and set the stage for these characters all coming together.
Now, you're about to meet Raiden, who's Christopher Lambert, and we cast Christopher not because he's a famous actor per se, but because when you make a list of the people who have enough presence, and in our case, because Raiden is a devilish god, humor, to play God, it's a short list, and Christopher was the top of our list. We just liked him for the role. We thought, what a blast to play him as the teacher, whereas in other of his films, he's been the student, and again, we thought he really had the charisma and the kind of devilish humor to play this role. So we approached him, and he loved the story and has become a great friend and a great asset to Mortal Kombat.
Of course, Raiden in the game and in the legend it has a power of electricity, energy, and so pretty soon you'll see him sort of just spark his eyes, which sort of are a sign of impending power that you'll later see in the movie.
He's the god of thunder and lightning. Now, actually here, when we originally shot this, we had a lot more backstory. This scene went on for much longer than it does in the movie you're watching. And we found that visually, we had conveyed a lot of the things we thought in the script stage we needed to actually tell you. So to keep the movie tight, we kept trimming it and found that we actually didn't lose any story value by cutting out some of the dialogue that was here. His eyes just sparkled as a little tiny touch, so we would be sure the audience realized he knew that this guy was something special because his eyes glow, not just because he flipped them.
Of course, the funniest thing is when we first previewed the film, we actually heard people scream out Highlander, so they did recognize him, but he quickly pulled them into the role of believing he was Raiden. And who would know, a thunder god is French.
He isn't ready, my lord. And we've lost so much time.
I know. But there's no one else.
I remember this was one of also the first nights that we had shot, and there's a ghost ship that's about to pull in.
Well, we call it a ghost ship. It isn't actually.
Yes, no, actually, the Dragon's Wing.
What happens when we do these shots is we live with each special effects shot for so long, and there are over 200 digital effects shots in this movie. We come up with our own names for them, which are not really how they're referred to in the film. So this is Shang Tsung's ship, and this actually isn't shot in Hong Kong. This is shot in Long Beach, in California. But you see all the fire and all the light, so the whole look of the movie is a bit, as I said, hyper-realistic. So when we then move into Outworld and you see guys with creatures in them, it won't be so jarring. You'll kind of believe it. A real doc wouldn't have fire lit every place so much, but we overdo it so that it will blend with the later effect scenes, but not too much.
Mm-hmm. The most important thing is, we're showing little touches of effect, but we're sort of getting the audience into the characters, into the story, so by the time they're on the island seeing these fantastic effects, they believe it because they're pulled in by the characters and they're pulled in by the story.
Now, in a minute you're going to see a several 100-foot junk come into the harbor, and originally we scoured the world looking for one and figured we'd rent one. We couldn't find one big enough, and if we found one big enough we couldn't afford it, and no one who owned a precious thing like that wanted it to be destroyed, which we had to do, and we couldn't get it over here. So we actually did something that I don't think has been done before, which is we created the exterior of the junk digitally. So this doesn't exist. This is all a digital shot, everything you see there.
The entire ghost ship is actually completely created in the computer, which is kind of funny because when we were on our way over to Thailand, we had already shot this scene, and we were on our way over to Thailand, and in the Thailand airport, one of the effects supervisors from Buena Vista Visual Effects, the company that did the ghost ship, actually was pulling out drawings and saying, what do you think about this? So in other words, we had actually shot the scene and we were still making modifications to how we wanted the the Dragon's Wing to look.
So in other words, we put in this boat later and it doesn't exist in real life, as a lot of things happened in Mortal Kombat. We used effects two ways: to heighten what the bad guys, or in some cases the good guys, can do, but also to show locations and places that don't exist. That was our real goal, to make digital creatures that exist only in the computer and entire sets and backgrounds that exist only in the computer.
What's great about the Dragon's Wing, having created it in the computer, there were a couple of scenes later in the movie that we needed to orient the audience as to where our characters were coming from. They were going to the island. You'll see a sunset shot, a daylight shot, where you actually see that ship. And because we had modeled it in the computer, we had a matte paint and we said, well, just put it in that particular shot. And we were able to do that because we had already built it in the computer.
That means the ship, what Al's saying is the ship exists in 3D, so since we have it, we can basically place it from any angle in any shot we want. This is just Johnny and Sonya meeting and
their first romantic interlude.
Lou here in these last few scenes turned out to be actually funnier than we thought, so we kept playing it up. A lot of the little bits of humor are things we strove for, but a lot of the things are things we ad-libbed. Let me restate that. A lot of the moments of humor are ad-libbed. This is the deck of the boat, shot in a sound stage in Los Angeles. We rented 3 hangars at the 3 LA airports to shoot this movie. They were huge sets.
And we had to build this portion of the interior set because we have some extensive stunts where people are pulled by wires and thrown around the interior of the ship, and obviously the walls had to be reinforced, so we had to build those portions of the ship. Another important thing that we felt about the effects in the movie is it has to move the story forward. So you're about to see a scene here where Raiden makes his grand entrance and certainly and introduces all the other characters.
Now here's Sub-Zero and Scorpion, 2 really popular characters from the mythology of Mortal Kombat from the games and the other media, and so we introduced them Shane-like to be cool and mean and evil. And you'll see the beginning of each one of their effects, but each character's effect had an arc in the movie. You see it a little bit, and then it grows and grows and grows as you see it more often. So now we're just going to show you a little inkling of what they can do. Sub-Zero can freeze people. That's a digital shot. Scorpion, fortunately, actually has this guy in his hand, so we didn't have to do an effect for this shot. This is also a digital shot, but it's showing us what's going to happen. The hard thing here is getting, and here's Raiden coming in
to put these bad guys in their place.
In his energy form. Now the guy who just flew across the ceiling, there wasn't a ceiling there. We digitally replaced the stunt apparatus with a ceiling. Shang Tsung and Raiden here are facing off. Shang Tsung is bowing because even though he's a killer and a murderer in the world of martial arts, one bows to one's opponent. And it was very important to, not only in our story, but to all the actors who play these roles, most of whom are martial artists, that we keep that in there.
We try to stay with the integrity of the martial arts as closely as we possibly could.
The quote message of martial arts and of Mortal Kombat is that if you believe in yourself, you can do anything. Now, we didn't make this movie to tell that message. We make this movie, as I said, because we hope everyone has a blast watching it. But that's an important underlying story element that pervades all of the mythology of Mortal Kombat. If you believe in yourself, one human being is capable of changing anything, including our entire world.
Once again, we tried to stay with the integrity of the legend that the game players and such knew. So obviously, Scorpion had a rope dart, has a rope dart in the game, and Sub-Zero can freeze people, and Raiden has electricity. But we've taken all the effects that people knew and heightened them to a much greater extent.
We never thought of ourselves as making a movie from a video game. We thought of ourselves as making a movie from the story that video game is based on.
So based on the legend.
We went back to that story, enhanced it, wrote a Bible of it, so to speak, and from that we constructed the script, which is the movie you're watching.
But it's very important because all the kids and all the people know the characters from the legend. And
well, half.
Yes.
Half of our audience were people who knew Mortal Kombat and half weren't, which was our goal. So we have to fulfill on the expectations of those who know, yet also educate those who don't and keep both sides happy. So this is the part in the movie where we sit down and explain to you exactly what's going on if you haven't picked up on it so far. Hopefully we do it quickly and with great aplomb. Actually, Christopher ad-libs a laugh in here, just a little laugh when he says the fate of billions would depend upon you, and then he laughs and apologizes, which is actually the biggest laugh in the movie, and it's the best thing about his character. That little laugh and apology completely sets the entire tone of his character, which is he is a thunder god, he is saying something incredibly important, he is immortal, but he's also devilish and he's funny.
He has a sense of humor about it, so it's fun.
And there's no better way to convey that than to absolutely show it.
Save the world. Exactly. The essence of mortal.
Now this, we said the ghost ship was, as we call it, was created in the computer. This obviously is a set to show the interior of the ship, which was shot on a soundstage in Los Angeles as well.
Actually, yeah, the deck.
The deck of the ship.
Why are you telling us?
The other sequence was in the ship's hold, obviously interior.
You're all great fighters.
Another thing that we did is, what was great about having this built on a soundstage is, as they're entering the realm, which is the Shang's Island and eventually Outworld, they have to make a transition, and you have to believe that they're being thrown into a realm that's different than what we know. So we set up a huge green screen next to the entire ship and created what we had called the Aurora Borealis, but actually it's Aurora Borealis with an attitude because it's a lot scarier. Aurora Borealis.
So we want to imply, since this is the vessel which takes us from Earth to Shang Tsung's island, which is kind of neither on Earth or on Outworld, we needed to imply we were going through a great sort of gateway. We actually worked in the following shots you're about to see right up until the movie was released. And while I think we conveyed what we wanted to, I don't think we ever quite got exactly what we wanted out of these shots.
Yeah.
They're supposed to be seeing this in the sky, and it's clearly not like a sky you see. And this is where they both say it has begun. This is the end of the first act. Everyone's met, they've stated the problem, and they sail on into wherever the hell they're going, and they don't know. And this is the evil Shang Tsung. Quite a subtle performance. Actually, Carrie was wonderful and really conveyed the evil elegance that we wanted out of the character. This, you're now watching a boat that doesn't exist, an island that doesn't really exist, and a sky that doesn't exist. The only thing that exists in that previous shot were the boats you're seeing now. Everything else was enhanced. The land mass is a peninsula that's much lower and has rolling hills, which we enhanced. The sunlight was fake, and the dragon's wing boat was fake. That last shot you saw too also didn't exist
At all. It was completely created in the computer.
You're now watching our new favorite place in the entire world, which is Krabi, Thailand, which is southern Thailand. A beautiful, beautiful, beautiful place where the people were wonderful, the crew was wonderful, everyone had a great time. None of the horror stories one hears about shooting in a foreign country did we have. We worked from dawn till dusk with the Thai crew, drank all night, and did it again the next morning.
Of course, this is a beach that you can only access by boat. So,
and these boats you're seeing are actually fishermen's long boats that they fish and ferry people around in, and we simply pay them to build those dragon heads onto them, and we rented the boats. But we had to take people into this beach, unload tons and tons of equipment simply by guys jumping off of these little boats and carrying the cameras over their heads in the early morning, and then load it all up again at night. And we actually didn't go a day over budget doing it because the crews were so great.
yeah.
The other funny thing about here is, again, our location manager, Garrett Folsom, who's a great guy, went to enormous trouble and enormous expense to build a bathroom for the crew in the woods behind there.
None of us knew it, though, so
Yeah,
we all went
except
to
he
the
forgot-
boat. We all tromped
He
through the
forgot to
water.
tell, actually, he did everything except forget to tell the crew, so all day long people are like running into the woods with snakes and running out to the ferry boat because no one actually knew about it. It was so well hidden. Now this stairway that you're about to see, and this
And
whole...
the entire tilt-up.
And the entire totem. None of this exists. This is all computer enhanced. They're supposed to be marching up to Shang Tsung's island. There's a little bit of a hill there, but the whole thing was enhanced. You shoot it in Thailand and then come back here and add to it in the computer. These stairs also don't exist.
Actually, we shot this entire scene on a set of green screen stairs, and then we put the texture of the stairs of the rock onto that and created the entire matte painting completely in the computer.
Now this is a set that does exist. It's in a hangar in the Santa Monica airport. It's an enormous, enormous, enormous set.
But it wasn't that big.
It wasn't that big. That's a matte painting as well.
That we're tilting down, down, down,
The
and now you're almost completely
Right.
live action.
About a little below the top of the screen is where it starts. These statues are supposed to be the statues of vanquished warriors from past Mortal Kombats. They're actually foam statues carved by amazing artisans who simply carve them out of one block, and then they're painted and hard-coated. This is our friend Reptile.
he was absolutely, completely carved out of styrofoam. But we kind of brought him to life in a computer-generated 3D character. He's sort of a menace for Shang, for all of our...
This is the beautiful Princess Katana, and Shang is about to tell Reptile to keep Liu Kang and the others away from Katana, because although Katana is the daughter of the original ruler of Outworld, and now the adopted daughter of the Emperor, Shang's boss, so to speak, and the current ruler of Outworld, he doesn't trust her.
She's really with the good guy.
So this is Reptile now coming to life. He can simply take the form of anything. He's a complete, utter chameleon. So he can look like a statue, he can look like his background, and he can take the form of anything. And he will pester these guys throughout most of the movie whenever they get close to Katana. Just like in real life, it's hard to get close to the pretty girl. This is the Great Hall, as we call it.
Also a set.
And one of the main, in our minds when we designed the movie, it's one of the main tournament grounds of Mortal Kombat. Also, not a bad place to get an Outworld burger.
And
Katana is eating apart from them because she is a princess and she is not supposed to eat with them. And also, were she to get close, Reptile or someone else would get in the way. But she's trying to catch his eye because she will help. She
has information for him.
Now, Raiden can't come in here, as you see from the none too subtle doors closing and keeping him out. That's because he has no real dominion over Mortal Kombat.
And you'll see the two ninja that you'd seen earlier. You have Sub-Zero, and across from him is Scorpion.
Sub-Zero is played by Francois Petit, who is one of the world's top jiu-jitsu artists. These are all beefy guys who outcast.
And we got to rub baby oil on them. No, just kidding.
Shang Tsung is welcoming all to Mortal Kombat. Again, a speech that was actually much longer when we shot it, but we learned we really had conveyed what was going on. You always want to give information, keep the story moving, but never linger where you don't have to.
We just wanted to basically, again, we had to bring all the characters together. Now we've set up the tournament. We know it's about to begin. Shang's about to say, we're going to give you a taste of things to come.
And we did that because we want to show heightening bad news for these guys. They start on the boat, it's a little bit bad, what the hell is this stuff? And now they see it's getting worse and worse and worse. We wanted to make this a real Jason and the Argonauts sort of journey, where it keeps getting worse and the stakes keep getting higher. It's hard because, how do real people accept this? I mean, how do you would completely have a heart attack and collapse if this were really happening to you.
Or think you were streaming.
But on the other hand, we want to get people into it quickly in terms of the viewers of the movie, so we tried to give it a heightening sense of doom.
And the most important thing about that is the look of the movie, the way it's shot, the production design. It feels ultimately like reality, but sort of a hyped up reality. So if you were actually in a place where tournaments were going on and people with special powers existed, this is what it would look like.
Which we know, because we did research.
Yeah, and we were there.
Now this guy is an amazing martial artist also in his own right, and he is going to face Sub-Zero. Sub-Zero pulls cold particles out of the air. All the time, we have a character who we say can freeze things, but then when you translate it into film, you really have to think, well, how does that actually work? How does he freeze things? So we made up that he pulls cold particles out of the air and translates them and freezes them.
Poor guy.
Bad news.
Must have
for the
lost
other
his
guy.
head. I'm sorry.
Flawless victory. Shang is having fun. A guy just got killed at his feet, and he can grab his soul later, and Shang stays young by grabbing the souls of others. John reacts to these things, obviously, by trying to be a little funny. A moment where we set up a little bit of the rest of the film. You like the pretty girl? Yes, I do. But wait. There may be a monster lurking in the background. And in a moment, you'll see the beginning of the next monster you're going to meet on this journey, which is Goro. Goro is a four-armed prince of the subterranean realm of Shokan and general of the armies of Outworld. We wanted to take a lot of these two-dimensional characters, so to speak, and make them three-dimensional. That's why we gave Shang Tsung some elegance and some style. We gave Goro arrogance and intelligence. This is Goro watching now. Goro has won Mortal Kombat for the last 500 years, and if they win this time, they win the Earth. So Goro was sort of surveying over the land, but he's too arrogant to perceive any threat that's going on. Now here's where they're all running to figure out they're still not truly accepting what's going on. She wants to follow this guy to get to the bottom of it. They're sort of helping and following her because they don't really know what else to do. It's actually interesting because what we were trying to set up here is that in the beginning of these three people, the girl is the one who knows what the hell's going on. She's a
She's
special
the
forces agent,
logical one. She knows what's going on. She's assessing the situation.
and they're kind of following her. Now this is all shot on a wooden plank in a stage
Against a green screen.
in Van Nuys. None of this exists.
We completely,
The birds, the
bats, everything. We completely built this digitally in the computer, three-dimensionally. And this is a sort of hint of our four-armed friend.
This is actually an ad-lib shot that we really didn't script, but we put it into the original test screen and it got a huge laugh and we liked it, so we kept it, which is Johnny telling Sonia to go check everything out first since he's such a tough guy.
We initially shot a lot more of our characters wandering through different canyons and caves, but we really ended up not needing it. It's sort of like we're on a mission, we need to find out what's going on.
There's a fine line between being realistically lost and being just kind of stupid and goofy and wandering around all day. So which we
After
had
a
to
while,
cut.
it's where do we go? Which way do we go?
Now,
So we had to do a
Goro
lot of-
was something who you're about to meet, was something that had never been done before. Goro is an 8-foot, 500-pound, four-armed creature who we made a decision largely not to do digitally. Goro is three kinds of different puppets. It's a guy in a lightweight suit who has great mobility, but not really mobility with his facial expressions and his top arms, which we call a stunt suit, which he can fight in. It's an animatronic puppet, which means there's a guy inside, but the top arms and the head are controlled through wires running down the back of his body, now through his foot, so you can only see him in a medium shot, not in a full shot. And it is a completely radio-controlled guy in a suit whose upper arms and facial expressions are radio controlled. The latter one had never been done before, and it was extraordinarily hard and complicated to use. It broke a lot because it was so technical. However, it gave us the ability to show him moving
And
interacting in a couple of complete wide shots, which really sold the believability of the character. We touched up some of his lips digitally when he just couldn't mouth some of the complex words we had him say perfectly. And we had him say those words because, again, we didn't want him to be a big, goofy brute. This guy is a spoiled prince, and he's arrogant, and he thinks these humans like Kano are just complete, utter scum. And he can't wait to beat them and ravage the land, as Shang Tsung has promised him he will be able to do.
The thing is that Goro, because he was 8 feet tall, his mouth is very large. So actually the animatronics to get the mouth to open and close and look as if it's enunciating could not possibly happen as fast as a normal human would talk.
But this is one of the most advanced puppet creatures ever built for the movies.
And the reason, there are certain things, as you see, we've done certain characters digitally, but Goro has, such an amount of screen time that, 10 minutes or 8 minutes or whatnot, digitally, of course, would be, very expensive.
Still today, even with digital technology, when we made this movie, the cost of doing this would be prohibitive, and it would be very hard to keep him this realistic looking on screen for this long. We originally were going to spend much more time down here showing how Goro lives and eats and having him chase live dragons, Komodo dragons up the wall for dinner, but again, we realized we didn't need it, and we were able to convey what was going on pretty quickly. We also wanted some humor in the scene, which there is. I mean, we think Kano's hysterical, because on Earth he's such a big shot, but here he's scared to death. And we purposely made Kano sit in this chair, which is a Goro chair. So it's good if you're
Really
8.5
demeaning.
feet tall, but not if you're him.
And the one thing that we were concerned about, but is absolutely conveyed, is you had to have tension between Goro, which of course he is not a human character, he's an animatronic character, and Shang Tsung. And we set up a tension that really absolutely is conveyed and is very convincing.
We had Goro originally taunting Shang Tsung much, much more about that Shang Tsung lost the tournament 500 years ago, which he did, which is why he needed to come back and recruit Goro to be his guy in the last round of tournaments over the last 500 years. So Shang lost 500 years ago, which means Outworld didn't get Earth, and then you start again, and Goro's won 9 out of the last 10, but he's arrogant. And now he tells him he won't fail.
And
now he tells him not to fail, and Goro says, I do not fail.
I do not fail!
Of course, we knew, by the time we finished all the lip fixes, we knew every word of every sentence that Goro said, and of course, we tend to quote it around the office occasionally. And all this food on this table, it was real. It was really difficult to keep our...
This is all shot in a soundstage in Los Angeles. Now, this is again to imply that every place they go and look, they just don't know where the hell they are. They're running through those caverns, which is inside the mountain. You saw them walk up when they got to the island.
Once again, the production design on this was taken from all kinds of different eclectic backgrounds. So in other words, you'll see hints of Egyptian, hints of Asian, and some Himalayan, all different kinds. And all this stuff, all these catacombs, all the carved areas are all done with foam. And it's just the most extraordinary work I've ever seen done with foam. You would never believe it.
And quite toxic.
Yes, absolutely.
Just kidding.
No wonder
But
we're
it's
all so
hot.
crazy, goofy.
Now Lou's looking for Katana, who not only is 10,000 years old, a princess, and can help, but not a bad-looking woman, and he's clearly interested in more than one ways. He's not quite sure what he's seeing there, and it's our little friend Reptile, who's completely blended in.
If you remember, of course, Shang Tsung has instructed Reptile to keep Lu and Katana away from each other. So this is another act.
We wanted Reptile to be dangerous and annoying, but just the most bizarrely annoying little weasel you can imagine.
So he scuttles around sort of lizard troll-like.
Spits and he scratches and he trips, but he never will really stay and fight. It's like the guy you hated most in high school.
Little pest.
Do you know where we're going? I know exactly where we're going.
They rescued Lou, and now they're looking again. These are cobwebs we built by getting silkworms, and they're just spray foam cobwebs.
I don't smell anything.
We wanted to show, we originally had the fight you're about to see in a different place, but we wanted to show that Johnny, who was bragging so much that he knew where he was, really didn't at all, and they led them right back to Goro's throne room.
Which, of course, if you saw in the scene before, he says, absolutely Katana's been through there, and then as they're breaking through the cobwebs that must have been there for, ever, you know that she couldn't have been through there.
Now, this is our first big martial arts fight of Mortal Kombat.
You'll see a couple moves of Robin shoes or Liu Kang's that are just extraordinary.
Now this is actually interesting too, because we shot these fights originally very wide because everyone is doing the martial arts that you see, and we wanted the audience to know that it isn't trick photography. So we didn't shoot some of the normal insert shots like that one. But even though it was real, because he's really doing this, without that insert shot to sell the hit, it just didn't have the impact. So although we did something not usually done by having these martial artists really do it, we thought we could get away without those kind of insert shots of the facial hits to show that it wasn't trick photography, they really did the move. But we found out it didn't work, and you needed the convention of seeing the punch. You needed that literal connection. So we actually went back and shot all these insert shots later on an insert stage. And we did that throughout a lot of the fights in the movie.
It's funny because when we first walked into the Goro's throne room, which is what this is called, there were all different colors and that were sulfites on these stalactites and stalagmites. And at first we looked at it unlit and we thought, my God, this doesn't look real. We pulled out books of actually what deep grounded caves look like, and this is exactly what it looked like. And then once, of course, it was lit and everything, it just looked amazing.
And we wanted this to match the true exterior limestone formations in Krabi where we were shooting.
Which they actually did. You see the sulfur drippings and everything.
However, we shot the interiors before the exteriors, which is usually not what you do. You shoot the exteriors and you match that, but because of typhoon season in Thailand, we couldn't do this. Now, here's where we said we pay off all the effects in a heightening arc. Raiden is the opposite. We thought it would be funny. We show him in the beginning with all his great power, and here, all he has to do is this.
Wave a little finger.
A little, I don't think so, and since they know he's Raiden, they all back off. So just to have one character's effects be a little different and hopefully a little humorous and show his subtle strength, we shot him this way where his effects actually got less in terms of what you saw in the movie as the force of his character became stronger.
This was Christopher Lambert's first day on set, and just that little laugh that he gives, we all knew that the humor and the...
He was our guy.
Yeah, he was it. We had made the right choice.
It's interesting doing the insert shots before because you line up a bunch of stunt people and ask who wants to get kicked in the face on them.
Oh, me, please.
It's amazing
please.
how many do.
And
But
can I jump off a building? And
But the stunt people in this film were incredible. Not only the martial artists, but the stunt people. We could not have done the movie remotely as good without them. We placed them very high in the credits, actually, to show how appreciative we were of the work they did. Here's where Raiden is going into what's going on and what they should expect and what's going to happen when the tournament begins the next day. He is warning them. Now, we had these scenes for two reasons, because we wanted to show the story of what was going on and the underlying element that you must believe in yourself. However, we also needed a break between the fighting. From here on, the movie is pretty continuously fighting, and you sometimes just simply need a little bit of a break between it.
that shot you just saw tilting down, by the way, that mountain doesn't exist either.
This is, the exterior of this is shot in Thailand.
My island will be your battleground. You come.
This is Robin's show, and Robin is a champion in wushu martial arts. We've talked about him before. He's fighting Hakeem Alston, who was a world champion karate expert. We tried to make each one of the fights and each one of the styles separate. So we ascribed to each character a form of martial arts that we thought would best heighten and define who that character was. So Robin is wushu because of the techniques you'll see. This guy who's karate is just mean.
And as we mentioned, we went out to all the different karate studios, all the different martial arts studios, and really examined every different kind of martial arts that exists and attached it to specific characters. Or occasionally there would be a character that is, partially kickboxing, partially Hapkido, or that type of thing.
But we literally fulfilled our goal of assembling the best martial artists in the world. We not only looked at them all to learn how we wanted the movie to be choreographed, but we looked at them all to cast them. And we just were fortunate in being able to gather an extraordinary group of martial artists who can really do the stuff that you're seeing, which, as I said, was our complete goal. No fake, no wind-up cut, fake hit to the face. Everything that's done is really done. I mean, Robin does this that you're about to see. Hakeem, it was interesting because, as I said, we went back to shoot some insert shots, so we had to call Hakeem 6 months later and say, we'd like you to fly back to Los Angeles. He lives back east, so you can get kicked in the face a few times. And he was on the next plane, but that's why it works.
The difficult...
Like, look at that kick and that spread on it. Hey, this is great. We can be like sports announcers.
Yes! You do the color, I'll do the... The difficult thing about shooting here, this of course is an insert shot, but the completely matches...
So this is in Thailand, but the effect you're about to see in a second was actually shot on an insert stage in Los Angeles.
And the concept, of course, is, as Larry had said, Shang Tsung takes people's souls and leaves sort of a withered husk behind of the person, and that's what keeps Shang Tsung young. So, of course, each time we steal a soul, it has to be a little bit different, and this is how he steals Hakeem's soul.
Now, Hakeem is an Outworld warrior. He works for Shang. Usually the Outworld warriors are hooded. Hakeem, we didn't hood, frankly, just because he looked so cool. We thought he'd be mean and not hooded. There's no other great reason for it. He's stealing his soul. We had a big challenge in Mortal Kombat because we wanted to make the movie as cool and as edgy as it could be, but we wanted to also not show the graphic violence from the game's finishing moves, and that wasn't really because we were running from graphic violence. It was because graphic violence, which was new to a video game, is old to the movies. If we were to show that, it would look like Friday the 13th or the Freddy Krueger movies, and you'd be a bit bored. So we wanted to have these great fights, but at the end, replace, per se, the graphic violence of the finishing moves with special effects.
Which are cooler, and people hadn't seen them before anyway.
Which we thought would just tell a better story. So it was our goal to show all this stuff in a cooler way, in a more original way, so the medium of bringing this to the film would add something quite different from the experience of watching it in its prior incarnation, which was a video game. We love this line.
Hello, baby. Did you miss me?
Never gets as big a laugh in the movie as we.
I know. Also a line that we quoted often.
Everyone in the set like around saying all day, "Hello, baby. Did you miss me?" He's just a mean, slobbery guy, but we all love him.
It's funny too because when we first shot with Kano, he was, I think, 15 pounds heavier. He went home, trained everything, came to Thailand, and we saw him without a shirt and thought, my God, did he ever look that?
It's the best way to train anyone we know is to tell them they're going to have to take their shirt off in public. That's all you have to do. Now, Bridget Wilson was cast for a number of reasons and extenuating circumstances having to do with schedules days before we shot the film. Most everyone else had the benefit of months of martial arts training. Bridget was a real trooper and came in a bit late to the show and really pulled off, given the time she had, some great stuff.
I remember having dinner with her the day after we shot this scene. She was a little sore.
Yeah,
but
she
she's a
got hit
trooper.
over. But she's a trooper, and she did some really good stuff with not nearly the training that some of the others had the benefit of. It's always important to us when we put women in action roles in movies. We want to make them as strong and as tough and as smart, or even smarter than the guys, but we also want to retain their femininity. I mean, we think it's ridiculous, the notion that to be a strong woman, you can't be pretty and feminine and soft as well. So we keep striving for that in all the movies we do. Now, this is actually Sonia's signature move from the game. Originally, actually, she didn't do what she's about to do, which is snap our friend's neck. Originally, she was a bit nicer, but we screened and we thought,
Why not?
why not? I did movies when they always let the bad guys go. So we went back, and on an insert stage, we shot this. So goodbye, Kano.
She gave him a break. I, of course, also remember when we were first rehearsing that move.
Right. It was kind of hard to get for obvious reasons.
People were all trying to volunteer for her
to be the stunt between the legs double. Now this is a rubber tree plantation interior from the beaches of Krabi, where we were simply driving by one day and said, "Whoa, that looks like
really
great!
cool.
We got to shoot something there." And we originally didn't have the time or the money to shoot the scene, so we ran out the last day we were in Thailand with these two guys, without any of obviously these effects, and shot a bunch of
This, of course, is just a whip pan.
moving camera whip hands and these guys running, and did most of the scene later in post-production. It was just really an idea we got much later to tag on to the beginning of this fight, because this was so cool. This is all obviously computer-generated digital animation.
We originally thought about creating this character, this scorpion rope dart with an attitude, partially computer.
Rope dart, because in the game it's a rope dart, but we wanted to enhance it. Our goal was to show that everything you know about Mortal Kombat is correct, but there's a lot you don't know. So it's not really a rope dart we see, it's a creature, a biomechanical creature.
That comes out of his hand and has an attitude.
And if he
Well,
got you, can eat you.
Of course, that one doesn't have an attitude anymore.
So Johnny Cage tricked him a little bit, and now, before he can maybe do something else, he's running at him. And that's Johnny's signature move, is Shadow Kick.
But Scorpion has lured him into his lair and is about to pummel him.
Scorpion's lair is built on a soundstage in Los Angeles, and it's built without walls. These are just lights evaporating into a sort of ethereal infinity, which is a really kind of bold thing to do from a production design standpoint. This is designed after Tibetan burial tombs, where the bodies are buried closer and closer to the ceiling to help their ascension into heaven or into the next plane. The idea here is that Scorpion has kind of an evil one, and these are all people and creatures he's killed over the years.
He's lured them all into his lair, but of course some of them have brought their tools, weapons, and such with them, and of course Johnny will make good use of those.
Now this fight was choreographed by Robin Show, Pat Johnson, our fight choreographer for most of the movie, and our stunt coordinator, who did a brilliant job, had a prior commitment, and was gone. So Robin, with his experience of about 30 Hong Kong martial arts films, choreographed this fight. And this we wanted to really just go for it. This is absolute fight. They're really hitting, they're really getting nailed, they're really getting kicked. We actually used a number of martial artists for the different scenes here.
We used an Olympic gold medalist. We used,
Olympic gold medalist to do some of the flips. This is a karate champion named Chris Casamasas doing these hits. But it's an enormous amount of work and time. This scene to shoot, this about 2.5 minutes of screen time, took 12 days?
No, not quite. Well,
10 days?
7.
This
10.
scene to shoot took 10 days.
10 days, okay.
Yeah, it's 10 days to shoot just this fight. This is all shot on a true platform a little high. This is one of my favorite shots of the movie.
It's amazing
Now-
how he defies gravity.
Now we do some of these shots with wires, which we hang the actors on and then digitally erase, and some we don't because they're just good enough to do it. Doing a lot of these things is the Olympic gold medalist Mitch Gaylord. Okay, maybe he had a little help in that.
Yeah.
Now, here's the beginning of which we actually had to put our real actor, Johnny Cage, Lyndon Ashby, who did a lot of these stunts, up there to hang on for me.
Hello. Goodbye.
Like all good producers, we did this stuff at the end of the shoot. Just in case.
And of course, the bones of the people that have been beaten.
This is what you call not a good day for Johnny Cage.
But he does take advantage of the people that have been beaten here, and
This flip is done by Mitch Gaylord, and it's interesting because the people on the set from Hong Kong, Robin, and some of his staff of choreographers and fighters couldn't believe that we actually would take care to make sure that when the actor landed, there was a pad there. He said in Hong Kong, as soon as you get the shot, you don't really care how they land. It's up to them. Kind of the difference between here and there. This is a combination. We're seeing Scorpion in a combination of puppetry
and practical
and with
effects.
With digital enhancements. With the idea here, we really didn't want to show blood. We wanted to show cooler stuff. So the idea here is that when you get Scorpion, he explodes like a volcano.
Because you see he's made up with fire, he can breathe fire. So obviously, internally, he would be.
And we go through that. We go through all these rationalizations for weeks and weeks and weeks. And our job is to sit around and think up these monsters. But in our mind, it makes
Watch for
perfect
the
sense.
hand.
And we're amazing we got away with that one from the movie before. This is something we just did as a joke, and we weren't really going to keep it. Where would Johnny have this thing in him? But he's cocky and arrogant, and it was funny, and it worked, and we kept it. We're really proud of that scene. We think it's one of the best fights in the movie. This is the beach of Ayutthaya, where we toiled and sweated and worked really hard.
Actually, hold my shirt. I need to go swimming.
We had story meetings in the water. Friends of ours were shooting a movie in northern Thailand at the same time we were here in the jungles, and they got through to us once. We were staying on this beach and called and said, "Oh my God, is it as horrible for you as it is for us? There are jungles, snakes, scorpions. What is it like for you?" And I said, "Yes, it's just as bad. Room service was late this morning." This is Talisa Soto.
She always gets whistles when she walks out.
Yeah, the audience loves her because she's mysterious and great. And Talisa had been a dancer. So Pat's choreography for her as a martial artist was to be slow and flowing and elegant because she's not really trying to hurt Shang Tsung. She's not. She's not really trying to hurt Liu Kang. She's simply trying to get close enough to him so she can give him a few hints to help him. The only way to do that is to engage him in battle in Mortal Kombat, even though Shang Tsung is getting wind that something is going on.
Because of course, if they tried to get close to each other outside of a fight, Reptile or Shang would intervene.
So she's taking the fight slowly. And in our mythology, it's not really clear who would win if she really wanted to. She is 10,000 years old, she is immortal, and she is a princess. So she's had time to learn some pretty cool tricks. He's simply trying to warn Shang Tsung for his next fight. And then once she does, she's allowing herself to lose so that he can go on. Were she to beat him, he couldn't go on. But Shang Tsung dare not try and steal her soul because she is a princess.
She's family.
So to speak.
And this is what she's warned Liu Kang about.
We love those flaming gargoyle heads.
We have some in our office.
Now, here's something that you're really maybe not supposed to do under the rules of Mortal Kombat, but not really. As you'll see, this is Raiden bringing water, and you will see why in a minute.
He's cheating.
He's not really cheating. He's just
helping out a little
bit. He's not cheating.
In case someone was thirsty, right?
Mortal Kombat is all about humans defending their own realm, but the gods every now and then give you a little bit of a push in the right direction.
Divine intervention. Or something.
More like a divine wake-up call. And again, we wanted all these fights and all these scenes to have a real mythological, fantastical Jason and the Argonauts kind of look to it. It's all smoke and blue light and gargoyles and monsters. And this, as we said, is Francois Petit, an extraordinary martial artist. playing Sub-Zero, and a lot of this fight was shot with a continuously moving camera. They really just did it back and forth a number of times, and each one of these guys got hit and nailed a lot.
You've seen a little tease of what Sub-Zero can do, the freezing of the gun, the fact that he can freeze people, but this is what we'd call a hero sequence, or a real display of what Sub-Zero can do.
And that is one of our favorite shots in the movie.
So we give you the fight because Sub-Zero Francois is an amazing martial artist, and then we give you...
And we also have some of these flips that you're seeing are doubled by an extraordinary gymnast. Here's another move you're about to see that this guy really does. I mean, there's no trick photography there. He simply runs off the wall and flips backwards. Now the fight's starting to turn, and it looks like Lou is winning a bit. So now
you see what Sub-Zero can really do.
And he didn't do it in the beginning because it takes him a bit of time to do it. It takes him a lot of time to summon the strength, and if he just simply started, Lou would have nailed him, but now he has a little bit of time because Lou doesn't know what's going on. So he is summoning cold out of the air, which he will send out, emanating, which will freeze everything in its path towards Lou. And Lou has no idea what the hell's going on.
But of
So
course,
these are cold vapors. It took us forever to design these in a way that we thought looked cool and different, yet somehow real. And we designed it all around the following image you're about to see. We love the idea that Scorpion gets... we love the idea that Sub-Zero gets done in...
by his own power.
Right.
So of course, what happens when water freezes?
So this whole thing was really designed around the ending we had in mind, and we worked back from it. The story we put together as the story should be, and the fights we architected, so to speak, as to be as cool as we could possibly think of. Now that ice arrow is all digitally created. It doesn't exist anymore.
And him freezing, of course, is all completely...
We didn't really freeze him?
No! Oh! We'll take him out of the refrigerator.
Yeah, that's how the sequel starts. Expect the humans would win it all, but maybe. So this is all Goro. This is all
Just trashing everyone in his path.
And it's set to, as is the whole movie, to really loud, fun techno music. Our original idea was techno music, but we changed our minds and tried to put in a variety of different kinds of music that we thought would produce a hit soundtrack, or that we thought would elevate the movie. We thought of getting really famous guitarists and having them duel and dueling Mortal Kombat guitars. We did everything we could, and then we just thought it just wasn't right. So we did everything we could, and then we thought, let's put in whatever works for the fights, and the hell with the soundtrack, we'll just do what works best for the movie. So that's what we did, and at the last minute we made a soundtrack deal with a record company called TVT, and the soundtrack is about to go platinum. So we really just put in what worked for the movie, kind of tossing aside any commercially planned ideas for the release of the soundtrack, but what worked creatively for one really worked creatively for the other, because it was great music and it embodies the essence of what Mortal Kombat is. It's fun, it's fast, and it's full of energy. This is our poor friend Arlene getting the absolute crap beat out of him by Goro. This was an incredibly hard scene to shoot. We shot this in master shots, in inserts, in the second unit.
With every different kind of Goro suit that existed. And of course the suit is very heavy. It's very hot for the person that is inside of it. So we had to take breaks. And
the guy inside of it has a video camera so we can see. He has an oxygen tube. He has a specially created apparatus we made so he could rest without taking him out of the suit.
A cooling system, but everything is
like
still very
suit.
difficult. It's very labor intensive.
And Goro was just having a great time. Bad day for Art Lee.
another thing about the score is we ended up with George Clinton doing the score, and he really incorporated that techno beat with an orchestral score to give us like a great use of taiko drums and really unusual instruments that really incorporated well in the flavor of the film.
And George did a great job of merging. The songs we used with the music he wrote.
And he incorporated the licks of, or little blurbs, little licks, little pieces of those songs with his orchestral score that really worked well.
Now, we've implied before and we've even shown before that this guy Shang Tsung steals souls. Now we're really going to see how the process has worked for 500 years. Goro kills him and then offers them up to Shang Tsung, as he must do. Goro doesn't like offering anything to anybody because he's an arrogant prince, but Shang is his boss, and Goro will get a large portion of the world, or so he thinks, if this all works, and he believes it will, so he does it. Because Shang Tsung is still his master.
And he's waiting with bated breath.
As strong as Goro is, Shang Tsung has the ability to see into your mind and to morph into other things and to steal souls, so he is still a stronger sorcerer and still stronger even than Goro.
What Shang does is, he, as we said, he steals the soul, he steals the internal life out of people, and of course leaves sort of a withered husk of a person behind.
It took us 9 months to get that shot right. Not because it was such a technologically advanced shot, but because we wanted to show it in a way that didn't look hokey, that didn't look like something you've seen before, but that conveyed what was going on.
Good question.
Here, sort of at the beginning of the third act of the movie, is really the moment where Raiden comes in and tells our characters exactly what they personally must face on their inner journey.
The moment of truth, so to speak.
He points out to them their fears and what they must overcome in order to win. Now the stakes are serious. It's the beginning of the third act because we've seen a second act full of tournament fighting where they started winning and now they're losing.
And we've seen people die, and we've seen people, that can't be beaten. These creatures.
And now we will set about in the third act of the movie to hopefully have more of a blast and show more great stuff, but also resolve each of these character arcs. So he tells Johnny Cage he's afraid he's just a fake. He tells Sonya she won't trust anybody, and he tells Liu Kang he's running from his destiny. The first one who will truly overcome his weakness is Johnny Cage, who will hatch a plan to fight Goro. Because of what we've just seen with Johnny, which was the Scorpion fight, which we went back and enhanced after we shot the movie to make it even stronger, he's proven he's a real fighter.
And he believes in
Scorpion.
himself now.
And he believes in himself now. So now he is, after listening to Raiden's words, he's a better warrior, and he has a way to beat Goro, which is not what one would expect, but which works, which you'll see in a minute.
Which, of course, what we've conveyed with the movie is, of course, the fighting is very important, the concept of the martial arts, the technique is important, but also believing in yourself, because you're not always the biggest guy on the block, so you have to use your brain. And so what Raiden is doing is he's sort of giving them the
stuff
Dutch
with which to
uncle's
do that.
speech. Yes.
And this is important. I mean, it's hard to put this kind of stuff into a movie full of martial arts and special effects because you don't want to be corny, you don't want to be preachy, but it is important because it adds a good subtext and it adds a good story. A little bit goes a long way, but it really adds to what the characters are going through. And it is true. It is the tenet of martial arts. If you believe in yourself, there's nothing you can't accomplish.
There were a lot of things that we cut out, but the real believe in yourself theme, we fought very strongly to keep, and really felt that it had to be a theme that you see throughout the movie.
And this is obviously a sad moment because they've lost Arlene. This is Liu Kang meditating, actually what will turn out to be all night, on the beach, and he once again is plagued by the scene, the memory, the dream of his brother getting killed by Shang Tsung. And he feels terrible guilt for having run. Liu Kang was at the Temple of the Order of Light. He ran. He left. He came to America. He didn't believe in the tournament. He didn't want any part of it, and they tried to have his brother Chan follow in his footsteps, and Shang Tsung came and killed him.
So he feels responsible for his brother's death because he should have been in that place, and possibly he could have saved his brother.
Now here, as we call it, is the scene on the rock, where Johnny is telling Sonya that he's got a plan to beat Goro. He's figured it out. We had the hardest time getting this scene right because we wanted again to establish that there was some kind of a connection between these two, but we didn't want to make it look wimpy, like they were both getting soft and gooey-eyed towards each other. So we kept tinkering and tinkering and tinkering with it, and I think probably also never quite got it perfectly correct.
The difficult thing about this scene is we had a very short period of time to shoot it. As you see, we're dollying, going from left to right all the way around the scene. We had elevated dolly track 8 feet up on this rock that was not really very stable, and had, half of a day to set it up and shoot it. So that was a tough scene.
But we conveyed what we wanted to convey. Again, sometimes story-wise, the tougher things and the things you work on are not the most technically complex. It's just getting a little essence of the story right. And here's where Johnny challenges Goro, and Shang Tsung makes a deal with him, because he's not supposed to fight Goro next. It's kind of preordained as to who will fight whom. But Shang makes a special exception in his case, and in return extracts a promise that he is free to move Mortal Kombat anywhere he wants should Goro not win, which Shang thinks would never happen.
And of course challenge someone of his choosing, which of course we see how his plan unfolds.
Now, originally, we had planned an even more enormous fight than the Johnny Scorpion fight and then the Art Lean Goro fight in this scene. But it occurred to us that if someone was truly confident and was no longer out to prove anything, there'd be a better way to beat Goro.
Because he's a big he's relatively agile, but when you're 8 feet tall and how many pounds do we say? 500 to 700, I don't know how much does a
1,000.
8-foot guy weigh. There's got to be a way to use his weight and height and size against him.
So someone who wasn't confident and who was afraid of not being real wouldn't do the simple, easy thing that you're about to see Johnny Cage do. But because of the story element, and because we've seen he's a real fighter, and because of another reason we'll tell you in a second, we figured we could pull it off. You always in these movies, you always in the kind of movie this is, want to deliver everything you promise, but it's nice to have a little bit of surprise every now and then. See, Raiden is secretly happy here because Johnny has finally bucked his authority, and that means they're starting to learn. Because all about Mortal Kombat and all about humanity is the theme that humans are supposed to think for themselves. The gods cannot do everything for them and won't in fact do anything for them. Humans can do everything for themselves if they so choose.
And
boy, are we philosophical!
Oh my God!
And this is Goro just relishing this moment. Another little weaselly chipmunk of a human being swirling up to him to be destroyed.
That he can put a notch on his belt for.
He can't believe it.
There's another display of Christopher Lambert's humor, Raiden's humor up here. Every little laugh, he places them
Now,
on.
here's another place where we got something from the kids who came into our stage during the time we were in pre-production of this movie. We said earlier how they set us straight on Kano's design. Every kid who came in who saw Goro being built...
No, don't!
I have to!
Okay.
Every kid said to us, hey, what kind of balls does he have? Which we thought was amazing.
I don't think you can say that. Can you say that? I don't
Which
know.
we thought was amazing. No, it's not television. We thought it was amazing that every little kid said. But it started giving us this idea that we wanted, that combined with what I said earlier, we wanted Johnny to beat him in a more creative way. And in a way that would be believable. Because no matter how good a fighter Johnny Cage is, how the hell can you beat Goro? There's only one way to do it. If you're a real champion, a real warrior, a real fighter, and it's... punch him in the balls.
And even if you notice on Goro, in that close-up, even his eyes dilate. So that's kind of cool.
See, and again, Raiden's getting into this.
Yeah, because he has this little laugh and sense of humor that people really appreciated.
Now, I can't believe that this little weaselly human has outsmarted him in the simplest way possible. And now he's going to do it again simply by hiding. It was really the only way to beat Goro that made it funny
And
that made
believable.
it somewhat believable in an odd way. Now, one of the next shots you're about to see is something that we believe has never been done before, which is the entire shot, the ledge, the cliff, Johnny Cage, and Goro, in a shot we'll point out in a second, are all digitally animated using motion capture animation, which is a sophisticated animated technique where a 3D digital character is animated according to movements
From a real human.
Right. The real human is put in a kind of light suit, and each dot of light calibrates to a movement on the digital creature. You film the actor in the light suit moving and translate the moving pixel dots of light into the character. And that shot's coming up. This is all shot on a soundstage, and he simply has hidden.
Those were $500
sunglasses, asshole.
That was pretty good, Larry. Wow. And this is the shot.
This is that's not Johnny Cage. That's digital animation. That's not Goro. It's digital animation.
But it's live action, real,
Yeah, but an actor is moving to animate that character.
and it's actually put in the digital environment. So
And this is again over fake clouds and a soundstage. Here, Johnny says the same thing he said at the beginning to the actor in the movie, making his art complete.
this is where you fall down.
He got to say it in real life. And we originally had a thing here where Johnny was going to talk to Goro a little bit and let him die with dignity, but we thought, nah, Goro's a big mean brute, kill him.
Yeah. Give him the satisfaction.
Now, everything has changed. Shang Tsung is worried. Things might not work out the way he thought they would. He can't believe it, so he grabs the girl and runs. They're on his island, which is kind of between Earth and Outworld. Now, he goes to Outworld. He's taking her to Outworld. And
But
he says he's going to fight her next.
And that was the deal he made with Johnny and Braden. Now this, of course, we had to get Shang Tsung and Sonya to Outworld, so they had to pass through a portal, and we wanted to create a kind of cool portal. This doesn't exist. None of this, all of it was shot in front of a green screen. That tunnel you just saw, all the goop, the gelatinous goop that we call it, all was completely created digitally.
And it's the door to the temple, to the Great Hall that you've seen before, but now with Shang Tsung's magic, it opens differently as you saw, and it becomes the portal. Now, the portal, the goop, the digital goop, is actually made out of the shots from Outworld. So if you actually freeze and watch it carefully, you'll see it's a distorted version of where you're about to go. That's something you wouldn't really notice if we didn't point out to you, but you would notice if it was wrong.
Because it picks up the flavor, the color, the texture of where you're about to go. So you really believe that takes you in your transitional environment.
And now it's Reptile and what we think was his best blending element with Leaves there, also watching, also spying, also running off somewhere.
Reptile in his best performance.
Reptile. Who, by the way, has been calling about his residual check.
And this whole tunnel doesn't even exist. None of that. And it's all completely 3D created.
Now, Raiden isn't terribly sure these guys ain't going to screw up. This is Outworld.
And this...
These are gargoyles in Outworld. Outworld is, in reality, a destroyed steel mill an hour west of Los Angeles. We lit almost a half a mile of this road.
But only on the left side. The right side doesn't even really exist. We completely created the right side and the top of frame.
It's all a map on the right side, and this is all a digital tower. This is the black tower with the Emperor. Mm-hmm. We lit so much of this road in this abandoned steel mill, which is near an airport, the Ontario airport, that pilots, we learned the next day, were calling in, wondering what the hell was going on and if they were in the right place, in fact.
These gargoyles, as you can see, can absorb and suck the life out of people, and you just saw a lovely character that he had made his victim.
Now this is actually the steel mill where we shot Terminator 2, which has since been destroyed. It's a lovely place full of toxic waste. Destroy your rubber.
Will you stop with the toxic waste?
Well, do we know how to have fun on a movie set or what? Just kidding about the toxic waste. No one sue anybody. Now, but here's where Liu Kang we need to show that he's starting to learn. Reptile has been nailing him the whole time, but Liu Kang is starting to learn. So
he realizes he's following
he's
him.
there, and Liu Kang has seen him because he's seen him move, and that is Reptile. And he's got the weaselly little bastard.
Of course, the tricky thing is, of course, Reptile didn't exist, so Liu Kang had to battle with, well, what we used as a stand-in, which was a gym bag.
It was a potato sack. So now the idea is that when he gets into this gargoyle, the gargoyle which absorbs life, it animates and brings to life the gargoyle as the gargoyle morphs and absorbs him, and the gargoyle turns into Reptile. And this now is how Reptile looks in the original video game. And then Reptile comes to fight Liu Kang. Reptile is played here by Keith Cook, an extraordinary martial artist, and all the martial arts you see here, again, are real.
You've been seeing those bays that they've been walking along. This is on a set, on a stage in Van Nuys, but this is supposedly the interior of one of those bays.
So the interior was shot on the stage, the exterior was shot in the steel mill in Fontana. Lou Robin Show is doing all his own stunts here and every place else in the movie. He's taking these falls and getting thrown. In fact, he choreographed this fight as well. Now, a lot of the ways we got ideas for these fights and martial arts was when we have the presentations looking for the martial arts, we'd like a style here or move there, and we take it. A lot of the movements in this fight come from a demonstration that we were fortunate enough to get from the Chinese National Wushu Championship team, the best Wushu artist in the world, came here and gave us a demonstration. That is an incredible shot that we think embodies the exact essence of what Mortal Kombat is supposed to look like. It's dark, it's spooky, it's lit blue, it's great martial arts, fire. These guys are really getting hit an awful lot. Robin actually claims to have... Well,
No, I don't think we're going to say that.
Robin actually got a little banged up here. This is one of my favorite moves. It's actually true when Robin does it. There are no wires in that shot. There's a wire in this shot.
Yeah.
But he jumped and landed on his shoulders without the aid of any wires or anything.
What we love best about this fight is it really does go back and forth. You see Reptile really beating and banging up on Liu Kang or Robin Shou, and then of course Robin has to of course save the world, so ultimately he turns the tables, and that's what you're about to see.
And the song we used under here, which is on the album Juke Joint Jezebel from a group called KMFDM, we think is a terrific song and actually really helps the fight. There are secret codes to winning the third Mortal Kombat game, which we put in the movie if one is...
Wants to
and
stop their
ardent
laser disc
Well,
and see it.
or one is ardent enough
So,
to see
right
it.
there, did you just see them, those little round circles?
We just hid it in the movie and never told anyone we did it to see if people would pick up on it. Now, everyone in the mythology of Mortal Kombat has a signature move. Johnny's the Shadow Kick, and this is Robin's, the Bicycle Kick. Now, clearly we played this up a little bit more, but now he's starting to glitch. He's hitting him so hard, he's starting to separate back into the two characters.
that he morphed into before. And there he goes.
Now, Allison will be mad at me for saying that.
Oh no!
But these are bugs and maggots and worms. We wanted to originally have them pour out of this guy using honey so they would pour. But the Humane Society would not let us. We shot with more martial artists than any movie ever has in America. And no one ever came to see if the martial artists were okay. Ever.
But the bugs.
The day we had the bugs in the set, we had a person from the Humane Society, and we could not do anything that would harm the bugs in any way whatsoever. Welcome to America. Now, Princess Katana appears and says, all right, you're finally learning. Not only did you finally catch the little weasel, you killed him.
Let me tell you really what's going on.
But now also she can be with him because they've taken away the spy. Liu has killed the spy, and now she's telling him what he's going to face.
In the Black Tower, as they head for the Black Tower.
This is a real mythological part of it. Simply the princess telling the conquering would-be warrior what fears he's going to face in the final scene in the movie.
It was beautiful once.
This was actually the
First or second night.
one of the right
Yeah.
after the Johnny Cage scene. This was what we went out and shot.
Yeah.
Just an amazing, amazing lighting job done by John Leonetti, our director of photography, who really did an extraordinary, extraordinary job with the look of this film. And this is supposed to be the decayed ruins of Outworld, which is what Earth will become if Liu Kang is not successful in his quest.
Of course, this is completely computer generated. This is coming from the other side, but you see the buildings that you saw as they walked down the ruins of Outworld, and we're going in to see where Sonya's been held captive.
In a lovely party dress
and
that
this
everyone
is,
will be seeing on the circuit this year.
and that's completely digitally created, that interior.
Everything is it's digitally created so the shot will be seamless. We also have a set that it matches exactly what you're about to see. But we recreated the actual set digitally so we wouldn't have to cut from that tracking shot. These are the monks wandering in to start. Shang Tsung is trying to get Sonya to fight. There's a little hidden rule in Mortal Kombat that the other opponent must be willing. So now Sonya's character arc has to be fulfilled. If she were to agree to fight Shang Tsung, she would lose and he would win the Earth. But she is going to believe that her friends will come. So she, who has no faith in others, is now going to have it. And it's that will save the day. We actually also had this scene between Shang Tsung and Sonya much, much longer. But again, we just didn't need it. It works with what we have and it works brilliantly. The actors here do a terrific job. As you can see, this image of the dragon, the Mortal Kombat dragon, is everywhere throughout the movie.
I'm not playing your game.
Sonia, my sweet Sonia.
And what we're learning here is what an actress can do in spite of her clothing.
On a bad hair day.
On a bad hair day. Which you'll see we reference in a second, because we try and, this is a blast, and we're trying to poke fun at ourselves a little bit. So when Johnny Cage saves her, he references the dress.
My friends will come.
Hoping against him. Such an endearing
Shang Tsung, one of the most evilest guys you ever want to meet, but having a wonderful time with him. This is Cary Tagawa, a veteran actor who really does a great job.
Fight me more.
Again, you see the look of this film and the lighting and the blue and orange light, all consistent throughout the entire film. Again, a credit to Leonetti.
And all the really extensive carving, once again, was all done, with foam and textures that you would never imagine could be formed into those shapes.
You'll note everyone in Mortal Kombat is rather good looking because Al and I are nothing if not superficial. And they are the best warriors in the land, and damn it, they're attractive. But, as you're about to see,
they're also good fighters.
Everyone gets their shirt taken off, male or female.
Now this is, coming up is my favorite scene in the movie.
For all time, he's the
When Robin takes his,
No, he's
Material.
exactly.
This one, the oohs and ahs when Katana walks up the beach almost rival.
Yeah,
This
absolutely.
scene
Oh, there's something for everyone here.
Yes, absolutely.
But he thought Johnny Cage would fight him, and he's mad. He's now a little nervous because he knows Liu Kang has some other stuff to him.
He knows
It's really sort of prophecy that Liu Kang is somewhat the chosen one, and that's why he tried to kill his brother. Shang Tsung needs to lure the world's best warriors to Mortal Kombat. That's why he does what he does in the beginning. He needs to get them there because only by taking their souls can he win Earth. He can't just take ringers, so to speak.
But he's a little nervous here.
Still cocky, but a little nervous. His best guy is lost. He hasn't fought in a long time. And in the mythology of Mortal Kombat, Liu's ancestor beat Shang Tsung 500 years ago. Now, this is something that had all been told to Liu when he was a kid, but he never believed it. Well, now, obviously, he's believing it. Liu Kang has to go through 3 challenges here. He has to face his enemy,
Face
His-
himself.
and his worst fear. So he's about to be facing his enemy. Again, it was so important to these martial arts, and we agreed to show the, quote, respect that they would have by bowing to each other before the fight. And this, too, is a very hand-to-hand grappling, almost jiu-jitsu version of a martial art, which these guys rehearsed on their own for ages.
And of course,
I give them a bunch of pointers.
and of course, jiu-jitsu is Shang Tsung's assigned.
Because
Form
jiu-jitsu
of
is very
martial
flowing
arts.
and is one of the hardest ones to master, and it is really the martial art of a master. Economy of movement, beautiful flowing style, and you can kill in an instant. Okay, now Shang's realizing, wait a minute.
The only drop of blood in the movie, by the way.
Time to use some tricks. This guy hit me. So, now he's going to draw upon, remember, Shang Tsung has within him the souls of all the warriors he's vanquished. He's now going to draw on that in what is really a bit of an illusion, unless Liu Kang believes it, to bring warriors against Liu Kang. These are enslaved warriors within Shang Tsung, who Shang Tsung, as you're about to see, implants to surround him. They're all placed in what we technically call these manhole covers. And they're about to burst down and face him. So this is Liu Kang's first challenge. Face your enemies.
And this was an interesting set because we wanted the set to have an extraordinary height because at some point Shang Tsung goes up and they have a fight up on this high peaked platform, but yet our characters that are fighting Liu Kang have to be able to burst from under the floor, so we had to raise the setup. So it was a decision of raising the setup a certain amount without losing the height of the set. So.
And again, this is yet another airplane hangar at the Van Nuys Airport. These guys are all real martial artists, as is everyone. I keep repeating it because we're proud of it and it's important.
And they're really doing what a lot of people only pretend to do in movies.
So Liu, up to the fear of facing his enemies, is just simply going to go for it. And since these guys are more of illusions created by Shang Tsung, what's inside of him, he's able to vanquish them by not being scared and by facing his fear. And by kicking some pretty good ass in my head.
And a couple more of those insert shots that make it more dynamic show up here. Right.
Yeah, this is a great shot too. But when you couple that shot with that shot, it works. When you have one or the other, it doesn't, and we know because we only had one when we started. So we need the spectacular move coupled by the little move so you really see what's going on. Now, here's where we have the height problem because we wanted to be able to show the second level here where Shang Tsung ascends to. But, you eventually run into a ceiling even though we're in an airplane hangar.
So we put a lot of smoke in there, and it looks cool.
Now,
Face yourself.
he has to face himself.
To my soul. But you don't own it.
This is his test. Shang is trying to simply psych him out and saying, I got you, give up, but he won't.
And also he sort of tries to throw the memory of his brother at him.
Which he's about to do
Yes.
in the next test, and the final one, face your worst fear. And his worst fear is that he's responsible for the death of his brother.
Hello.
How'd that happen?
Who is that guy? And we were sitting in the first screening we went to see. There were kids in front of us screaming, "No, don't do it! It's not him!"
It can't be you.
This again is a bit of a risk because at the end of an action movie to have a kind of tender scene sometimes doesn't work, but we were really, really passionate about keeping it because it's the heart and soul of the movie, and it actually did work, and we found that the test audiences liked it, much to our delight.
And it
So-
allows Liu Kang to come full circle, which we felt was very important.
So he's almost winning. The music here also is very, very important, as it is throughout the whole movie. Now, what Chang's trying to do is simply lure him into a false sense of confidence so he can take him a few feet close to that edge and simply toss him over into the pit, which Shang is having rise up using his powers. But in the movie, that is supposed to be a real pit and real spikes, and if you fall on it, you're dead. So he's trying to lure him closer to the edge. Come with me.
For a moment he believes it, but then he regains his confidence.
Every man is responsible for his own destiny.
Now, we shot this where you see it. So they actually were working 20 feet up over an actual pit. You can't see there are airbags out of camera range right below, so were they to fall, they would fall on airbags. But they are really shooting this fight 2 feet from the edge of this thing. Shang Tsung starts to win and thinks he's got it. And it's important to do this because you need to create the worry and the fear that maybe, just maybe, Liu Kang will win. I mean, in the back of your mind,
Will lose.
"Whoa, maybe Liu Kang will lose." You need to create the fear that maybe Liu Kang will lose. In the back of your mind, you pretty much know he won't, but you never know in Mortal Kombat. This is his final movement, and now Shang is worried. Now, this is important too, and we invented a camera technique here that we used throughout the movie. This was not shot at the end of the movie, where we hung a camera in a plexiglass box, allowing the actors and the martial artists to actually punch the camera, giving a sort of POV of the punch coming in. It actually hit the box, which looks like it hit the camera. Now, these are the souls within him starting to be set free. He's starting to lose his power. Lou is trying to talk him out of it. Lou is trying to say, give up, it's over, let them go.
I don't want to kill you, just let them go and everything will be fine. But, of course, Shang has a little bit too much pride to do that.
And now, Lou is just gonna beat the hell out of him.
All those souls he still don't have one of your own.
And he's got to. He can't just be one hitting over. It won't be satisfying. You hate this guy from watching him throughout the whole movie, and the audience wants to see, and we want to see, and the character wants to really get his revenge, and not just push him over, but really give him what he deserves. And this is what we call the great trailer shot. Just because it looks cool, and we can use it in the trailer. And
The difficulty here is, of course, you have a number of different angles, and the smoke level, because this set was so, highly smoked, it was difficult to get the smoke levels to match. So that was a challenge with this set.
And you just saw some of the punches into the plexiglass camera we go. Now, Lou is supposed to have a secret move in the mythology of the game where he can do a fireball. We didn't want to really do that because a human being wouldn't be able to in the movie, but we implied pushing Shang Tsung that hard, hitting him that hard, created a jolt of energy. Maybe it was Shang's leaving, or maybe it was Lu's going into him and pushing him over.
What you? Go ahead.
What you're about to see is what Shang Tsung really looks like, because he's very, very, very old, and he steals souls to keep himself young. Now, these are the souls escaping.
This is the sequence we called the Pillar of Light sequence, because there's a pillar of light in it, and the souls are all being set free, going up to heaven. Some of the souls that, of course, he had beaten, that were contained within Shang Tsung, and of course, a friend of his shows up.
This again is something we shot and really debated, because could we manage to keep this kind of heart and this kind of story element into Mortal Kombat? Would it come off as too wimpy? We really, really liked it and pushed for it and shot it and tinkered with it and edited it and played with the music a lot, because we thought it was important to the story, and we're pretty thrilled we kept it.
Then my spirit will always be with you. Go in peace, my brother.
Also, Stephen Ho, the actor who plays Chan, did a great job of being instantaneously empathetic. He really looks like Liu Kang.
And here he's completely walking into a green screen. All of this was completely computer generated. So ties well into the set. And this was shot in the steel mill, but that tower at the end and all the moons and everything were completely
and everything on the
computer
right side
generated.
of the frame is also computer generated. Now it's time to go home. Or is it?
And they're safe.
Or are they? This is back in Ayutthaya, Thailand. Where Raiden is waiting for them at the Temple of the Order of Light to congratulate them.
I've been waiting for you.
We're also going to learn that, unbeknownst to them, Raiden didn't know they'd win. He didn't know this would work out. Because humans are unpredictable.
And gods don't know everything.
So we think everything's going to be just peachy, but it's not.
Because the realm of Earth is being infiltrated by the Emperor.
What is it? The Emperor.
This is where he says, what's going on? It's the Emperor. Now, the question is, Shao Kahn, who comes to Earth on the Temple of the Order of Light and says, you weak, pathetic fools, I'm here for your souls. How could this be? Because they've won Mortal Kombat. How could Shao Kahn, the Emperor, be on Earth? Might you need to find the answer to that in Mortal Kombat 2, the sequel?
Good wrap-up, Black.
We think so, as Mortal Kombat continues.
There you are.